All Reads. I'm Courtney, and today you're joining me for a fun video talking about e-readers and comparing them to each other. Now's the perfect time to decide if you would like a new e-reader or some type of device because it's Prime Day deals, things are on sale, and it's only going to get better as we get into later in the year. So take a chance to see what's out there, what are the pros and cons, make the decision for yourself. If you're new here, welcome. Thanks so much for joining. Take a look at the channel to see if this is a place you'd like to subscribe to. If you are returning, thanks so much for coming back. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, hit the bell for post notifications, and then check out the memberships to see if you want some additional perks. One of the perks for all members is that you are part of a book club and a Discord. This month we are reading Made for Each Other by Lynn Painter. It comes out next Tuesday, the 15th, and so we're super excited to get into that one. So for today's video, we're going to compare all the different options you have. I mean, literally from an iPad, a Kindle, a Color Soft, a Kobo Libra, a phone, a Fire tablet. There's so many options that you can read on. And this video is going to show you what the pros and cons are, as well as kind of piping in some of my experience with the devices because I have all of them. So let's start off by talking about the iPad. Okay, so if you are new here, check out the video that I did a while ago where I used only an iPad for a week. I don't generally use an iPad for reading, but after I did that video, I had like a huge awakening on the benefits of using an iPad for your actual reading device. There are lots of pros and cons to using an iPad. So for this discussion, I'm going to talk about my iPad mini. I used the larger iPad in my sort of using an iPad for a week video, and that was its whole journey. I will link down below all of my playlists for any of my tech videos because I have quite a bundle of them, whether it's Kindle, Kobo, or other e-readers. You can check them out all down below. So this is the iPad mini 6. I've had this for a few years, I think maybe 4 years at this point. I didn't see a need to upgrade to the 7 because they were really very similar. The only difference I would say would be Apple Intelligence. However, my iPhone is newer, and so I have Apple Intelligence on that, and I have it on my computer, so I don't feel like I needed it on the iPad as well. So that was not a selling point for me. However, I know lots of people are super excited about the iPad 7, and so that could be something you might want to do. So here are some pros about the iPad. First of all, it's very versatile. When we think about e-readers, we're thinking about different platforms that can be used. For the iPad, you're going to have the ability to download any app that you want, right? It's a tablet. So you can have your Kindle, your Kobo, Audible, Libby, Libra, Hoopla, any of the things you want to access reading can be done right there. You can also download PDF documents if you wanted to get something from like a library or like a journal, like an academic type thing, you could do that. It has a very high resolution screen and it's super crisp. I'm going to open up my iPad and show you what the Kindle looks like. Now I do have a matte screen cover on mine, so I'll let you know that. But let's go to... So when I look at the home screen on my device, you can see that the colors are very, very crisp. It's very appropriate for comics, PDFs, magazines, graphic novels. The vibrant colors are what we would expect from any sort of tablet device or iPad itself. The iPad mini has an amazing performance. It's smooth. The navigation is nice. You're getting a very high quality device. Apple devices are known for their quality, and that's what you're getting from this device. You have the ability to have different types of books and interactive things. So I download GoodNotes as my preferred writing app. And the thing about having the iPad is that you can literally have everything in one spot, where if you want to write down book reviews, you want to journal about something, maybe you're tracking your books on Goodreads, you can do that all in one spot. You do not have to get off of one device to get to the other, and everything's connected. And then you have Apple Pencil support, which in the Kindle app, you cannot necessarily write on the books, but you can add notes, and then you can use the pencil for precision highlighting when you're annotating. But I like the pencil best for, again, going into Goodreads and marking off things, using it to just scroll, or also going into GoodNotes and writing up what I've just read as it's fresh on my brain. Now, while the iPad has its many benefits, there are some cons to it. And so the first is the screen. You have a backlit screen, which means you're getting that blue light contact, which could be straining on the eyes after a while. It is pretty heavy in comparison to a traditional e-reader, and it's not necessarily ergonomic. You can do things to change that. I have stickers on the back, but I have different cases. Right now I just have a folio case, but I also have a clear case that I can hold a pop socket on. And so you could make it more ergonomic, but it's not intentionally built like that. When I did my video using the iPad for the week, I used my big 13-inch iPad purposely to see how that would work. And it was heavy. It was not ideal for reading in bed. And so that could be a drawback for people. The battery life is also not what you're going to get on an e-reader. It truly depends on your daily usage, and it's like any other cell phone, right? So you're probably charging every day if you're using it consistently, but you're getting about 8 to 10 hours of device time. Again, that does not compare at all to a Kindle, in which you're getting weeks and weeks of battery life. However, you are accessing more things on an iPad than you would on a Kindle. It can be expensive if you're only going to use it for reading. So I would not suggest this as an e-reader. I would suggest this for reading on the go, right? These run about $400 for the mini, and it goes up from there. And so there's no reason to get it only for reading. You would want to get this because you are planning to use it for entertainment. You're going to use it maybe for email and just staying connected, and another way to be informed. And reading is just an additional perk, right? And then the last part, which is my biggest hang up when I did my video, which is the distractibility. When you are using an iPad or any tablet for the purpose of reading, you're going to be distracted. You have everything at your fingertips right there, between notifications, games, messages, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, whatever you want, it's right there at your fingertips. And for me, using an iPad for a week was really hard to focus on reading. Now, of course, you can put different modes on, and that will help a lot of these cons, such as the screen. You can make a grayscale screen. You can put your device in focus mode where you're not getting notifications, but right out the box, inherently, it is a distraction device. For me, I loved playing the game Good Sorting, and it's basically just a game where it's a 3-in-a-row game, but it's sorting groceries. And I don't know why I love this game so much, but it really, really threw off my reading the week that I used my iPad. So while the iPad has really good benefits to it, there are also some cons that you might want to look into. However, I'm pretty sure there are some great sales happening right now because of Prime Day deals. But that's kind of what I think about the iPad. Let's talk about the Fire tablet next. Okay, if you're new here, you might not hear much about my Fire tablet, but I do in fact have two Kindle Fire tablets. I have the 8-inch in pink, and then I have a 10-inch in purple. And I really don't use them a lot. Like, I literally busted it out for this video. I charge them every now and then, make sure they're updated and maintained, but I don't use them a ton. But there are pros and cons to using it. If you see me looking to the side throughout this video, I am looking at notes because I wanted to be prepared for you guys so you knew what the pros and cons were. So the first pro for this device is that it is affordable. This is one of your most affordable tablets that actually run internet and have apps. They're usually less than $100 for this size, and they're constantly on sale. And so they're great budget tablets, especially for kids. When my kids were younger, before we had iPads, they would have these tablets because they're a little bit more rough and tumble. They're more cost effective, and you can still essentially get everything on here. They're also good for kids because of the screen. When I think about some of the books my kids are reading, like graphic novels, I'll just pull up one here. This type of screen image is exactly what they're looking for when they think about reading a graphic novel on a device. They wouldn't necessarily want like an e-ink color. They want this bright, vibrant color. Because it's a Kindle device, you are going to be integrated into the entire Amazon ecosystem, which means that you are connected to the Kindle store, Prime Reading, Audible, everything is right there. However, you are kind of stuck in that. So I guess a pro and a con. So you're not able to add additional apps such as Kobo or anything like that. However, because it's the Fire tablet, you can add things like Libby. So you go to the Amazon store and you can pick up some third-party apps. But again, it's not going to be like Apple where you have like this huge list of apps. They have some specific that run with the Kindle system. And then you can also use this device for email, for PDFs. And so again, it's a tablet. You are going to enjoy this as you would an iPad, just not as snappy as the iPad. So some of the cons would be, again, the backlit screen. This is a blue light screen, so you're not going to get the comfort on the eye, especially if you're using it for a long time. I'll show you kind of what this looks like on a white screen, and you can see after a while it could probably get pretty annoying. I do use a dark tint on the screen, which you can see I don't use this device at all, but I usually go into dark mode on this so that I can save my eyes, and I make the page color black and the words white, and that has helped a lot both on the Kindle and on the iPad mini. That just helps with some of the lighting. This is also a very slow device. Like I said, it's not going to be as snappy as an iPad. It is a tablet. Yes, there is a Silk browser that Amazon uses, but it's not in the same sense as what you're thinking as a tablet. Again, these are great for kids who want to just get a couple of apps, maybe YouTube Kids, get your books on there, and they can have some autonomy with what they're doing, but it's not a full open space device because it's just not that fast. They did talk about a con of being, I've heard, some low resolution. I haven't had that issue. Like I said, I think the screen is just fine for what it is. Again, you're going to watch out for the blue light. And then this is something for all Kindles. You could have issues with ads in the lock screen. You do have to pay $20 to get those off. I personally take them off. I'm not necessarily interested in having the ads. I used to, and then when I got a Kobo for the first time, I didn't have ads. I was highly spoiled, and now all of my devices, I take the ads off because you don't need them. They're $20 to get off, and if you can swing it, I would highly suggest it. Kindle Fire is perfect beginner tablet. It's great to read on, and it's a great option. It's cheap, it's reliable. The battery life is not going to be as long as your typical Kindle e-reader, but I would say I would argue that's longer than the iPad battery. All right, let's look at the Kindle Color Soft next, which is my personal favorite. Okay, as much as most of you know, at the end of the year, we had a ton of Kindles come out. We had the Kindle Soft, the new Paperwhite, a new Basic, and a new Scribe. I was anxious to pick all of them up. I got the Color Soft and have been really, really happy with it. Like I said, it's my most reached for device. It's my favorite device, and I have not had a ton of issues with it. I know there have been complaints about the screen resolution. I think most of those kinks are gone at this point. There's a huge sale happening, a bundle, and just a sale on the device itself. So again, this is the perfect time to get something like this. So let's go through some of the benefits of the Kindle Color Soft. So first, you're getting the Color e-ink display. And so it is giving you a muted functional color, right? And so I want to show you what that screen looks like. I think when we think of a color device, people in their head might be thinking of a tablet. However, when you're using an e-ink color, you are getting more of a muted look on the screen. It's still color, it's still vibrant, but it is not going to be that blue light harshness. Because of that, you have a gentleness on the eyes, which means you can read for a very long time. I have the brightness turned all the way up. I don't read that high up because it does start to bother me because of the backlighting. But when I turn it down, it is totally fine. When you're looking on page, let me find a book that I'm actually reading. When you're looking on page, it reads just like a Paperwhite. So here's the cover of the book. And then when you get in there, it's just, again, my brightness is all the way up, but you're just looking at any other sort of Kindle. It's like all of these open pages. Okay, so here we go. This is what it would look like on screen. This is a Kindle, of course, so you're going to have a very long battery life. It does last a good while. I will say it doesn't last as long as the black and white Kindles. I don't usually let my batteries get below around 50 or 40%. And I'm probably charging once a week or once every week and a half. I usually use this as my main driver, so I think that's a pretty good amount of time. I think it really depends on the brightness of your screen, how long you are reading for. I will say a downside is that my battery has never charged past 98%, even out of box. And I know that's happened before. It happened on my Oasis too, so just be conscientious of that. This device also has a warm front light in the sensor at the top, and that is going to make it easy to read at night, in the day, or outside. I didn't mention, but on the iPad and the Fire tablet, you have more of a glare on the screen, which makes it hard to read out in the daylight. For my iPad mini, I have a matte screen protector on it, which helps the situation. On the Kindle Fire tablet, I do not, so it's really not ideal for outside. The sensor on the front does help with reading outside and reducing glare. Again, because it's a Kindle, you are part of that Amazon ecosystem, so you are seamlessly woven into Kindle Store, Prime Reading, Audible. They have Goodreads that you can link when you finish a book. And then this is portable and lightweight. I will say it's not as light as the actual Paperwhite, but it is lighter than an iPad or a Fire tablet. And then because you don't have a browser and apps, you're gonna limit your distractions. This is just for reading. And in my opinion, it's a beautiful experience. So some of the cons, and this to me is not a con, but I could see why people dislike it, would be, again, that color muting. I think the color is beautiful, and I hate to be biased, but I love this one. So I can understand why people feel like it's muted because it's not your typical tablet. But people might think the colors are not as sharp and vibrant as an iPad or as a Fire tablet. The refresh is a little bit laggy because you are refreshing colors. And so it's not necessarily a smooth, loaded screen every time you scroll up. Again, it is Amazon locked, so you're not able to download things like Libra or Kobo or any other reading platforms without doing some type of jerry-rigged something to the device. And then this has limited PDF support. And then, of course, we know a lot of the issue people had is the way in which Amazon is doing their books, in which you are essentially renting the books and you cannot own them by downloading them and putting them on your computer. That used to be something you could do, now it's not, and I think a lot of people are upset about that. I think in general, that's how most ebooks go, even with Kobo. The difference is that in Kobo, you can actually download them to your computer and put them other places, and so I know that was a huge issue. The last con is that the Color Soft is one of the more expensive devices. That's why it's so great on sale right now. I think I saw that this device itself was $179 right now and $211 if you do a bundle. And so that is an amazing price. Normally it's $279, which people feel like it's a little bit more pricey for just a Kindle. But I really think it's worth it. Like I said, it's my favorite device to pick up. That's the one I'm constantly using and charging. So I highly recommend that. Okay, next up, let's take a look at our other color device, which is the Kobo Libra Color. Okay, as I go over the pros and cons of the Kobo Libra Color, I think we're going to find a lot of similarities between this and the Color Soft. These are the main competitors of each other. So first off, you have the Color e-ink screen, which again is going to give you that visual pop. You have the e-ink color, so again, it's just a little bit more muted. It's not going to come at you as if it is a tablet. It has the ability to have a lot more file integration, so you can have EPUBs, PDFs, CBR, CBZs, I don't know what that is, and also has OneDrive integration, which means you can have OneDrive, which is the same as Libby, right in one spot. So instead of putting your device down, going to your phone or your tablet or computer to get a book from the library, it goes right to your Kobo, which is a really nice, seamless fit. You also have the comfortable lighting. And so you have an adjustable front light, which gives you not only the brightness, which I have it on the highest, but also gives you that warm color on the screen. So if you wanted to read it at night and you wanted more of a reduction of blue light, you could do that right here on the device. You also have the buttons, which I think is a huge pull for people. Not only is it a tactical way to just turn the pages, but it helps with the ergonomics because it creates a little bit of a grip here, which makes it easy to hold. This device also can rotate depending on which way you hold it. It will flip the screen for you, so whichever hand you want to have it in, it is ready to go. This is also waterproof, so if you wanted to use it in the bathtub or at the beach, you are good to go. I personally don't use it by water, but if it got wet, you wouldn't have a problem. The Kobo also supports the pen, and so this is a separate purchase, but it's great for annotating. The best thing about Kobo annotation is that you can write right on the books. You don't have to create a new note or anything. It also helps with precision highlighting, so this is a really handy tool. Some of the cons, I would say, again, people are going to maybe say the colors are still muted. They're not what they're thinking for the tablet style, so not as vibrant as an iPad or a Kindle Fire. Because of the color, again, you're going to get a little bit of delay in refresh just because it's always trying to keep up with the color. And then you don't have any app support, so you're not going to get a browser or any way to download additional apps. However, the Kobo itself is more integrated with better options for obtaining different ways to access reading. And I guess you could also name that price as an issue. It's a little bit cheaper than the Colorsoft. However, it's still a pricey device. They also have a Kobo Color, which is a little bit less expensive and still gives you color. I had that. I thought the colors were not as strong as the Kobo Libra Color, but it's still a very viable option. Okay, next let's talk about using your cell phone as your reading device. Okay, using the cell phone is my least preferred way to read, but I have done it in a pinch. I carry two phones generally. I have a Samsung S25 Ultra, which I'm filming on, and then I have the iPhone 16 Plus. And whether you are running out the house, running late, you're always going to have your cell phone with you. And so if you wanted to read, you could. The pros of this, of course, is that it's ultra portable. We always have our phones with us. We are running around with little computers in our pockets every day of our life. And so there's no excuse for you not to have this with you if you wanted to read. Because it is a device with a full operating system, you can download any app you want. Kindle, Kobo, Libby, Hoopla, anything you want, even Spotify with the audiobooks is going to allow you to read on the go. And then you have really sharp colors, and I'm going to pull up what a book looks like, and you have really sharp access to what you're reading. So again, here we are with our book teacher of the year. I'm in the middle. I haven't started that yet, but I'm super excited. And again, I have used the black pages because it saves my eyes. But again, you're still getting a very crisp look on the screen, and the text is nice. And so you can use it anywhere, right? It's right with you. You are able to sync across different platforms though too. So if you're reading a Kindle book on your phone, you come back to your Kindle, it will sync. Same with Audible. And then of course, because it is your cell phone, you can customize it the way you want to with fonts, coloring, size, all those things. Some of the cons, of course, it's a smaller screen, so it's not ideal for long reading. I would use it if I forgot my Kindle and was just like waiting at the doctor's office or in a line. There is eye strain because again, you're using that blue light, and it can get really to be a lot if you're reading a whole book or something on this. And again, you have distractions. As I'm reading, as I am going over this with you, I have like 56 notifications going off from Snapchat to text messages to everything. And so you're always going to be tempted to be interrupted, whether it's a call, a text, or an app that you like to go on. And so you can again put yourself in a certain focus mode and keep yourself tunneled into reading, but it is really easy to be distracted. And then of course, your cell phone is used for many things, and so the battery drain is something that could be a huge issue. You are not going to get the same battery life that you're going to get on a Kindle or any other e-reader because you're using it for so many things. I know when I use it for audio, I find that as I'm listening to it, as I go into work and listen to it while I'm working, by the time I get home, I'm like at 60% because I've been using so much of the battery. And so that could be something that challenges the usage of the cell phone. Again, it's my least favorite way to read. I only do it in a pinch, but some people really like die on reading on their phone and they are totally fine with it. It just has never been my thing, but it is a viable. Okay, the last device we're going to talk about is the one you're probably the most familiar with, which is going to be your basic Kindle. This is where it all started. This is the Kindle Paperwhite 12th generation, and this is in Raspberry. This came out last year. And so I think when people think about e-reading, this is what they're thinking about, right? This sort of paper-like screen. I also have the Basic, which is another great device to use for e-reading. But these devices have that e-ink screen. It's crisp, it's glare-free. Some even say the letters are crisper on this device than on the Color Soft, and it's meant to mimic real paper, so it's gentle on the eyes. You have that warming light feature where you can, let's turn it on. You can kind of make the screen that little orange hue in a way so that you are protecting your eyes from blue light, which is great because part of reading digitally for me is reading at night. And if the lights are off and you don't want to bother your partner or whatever, you can always turn that on. It is waterproof. Again, I'm not going to be dropping it in the pool anytime soon, but if it got wet, it's totally fine. The Paperwhite, the Basic, anything without color has an amazing battery life. We're talking weeks and weeks and weeks. Now, because I rotate through my devices, sometimes I won't touch this for 2 or 3 weeks, and I come back, and if I've charged it, it could be at 89, 90%, and I have never touched it. So that battery life is so great. It really depends on your average use, of course, but I think that's part of the appeal of e-reading is that you have that battery life. You don't have to keep charging it every night. These devices now have a larger screen. I think they're 7 inches, and that helps with just being able to see everything. All of the devices I've shown you have USB-C cables. I didn't say that, but that is a huge draw because everything's kind of going that way, so you could charge everything using one charger. It's lightweight and comfortable, way lighter than the Color Soft, and the Basic is even lighter than this one. So you're going to find a way to read for a long time without issue. As you can see, I use a MagSafe ring and then put a pop socket on it. So if I want to read, I can, holding that, or if I want to take it off, I can. The MagSafe for me is the way to go because you can have the versatility. And then, of course, a benefit and con is you're in the Amazon ecosystem. You're not going to be getting additional apps on here, but you can access, again, any Kindle book, your Amazon storefront, Prime Reading, and Audible. And then it will sync, of course, and then you also can access Goodreads as you finish a book. Some of the cons, and these are, again, subjective, so it's still black and white. You're not going to get any color. Even when you're looking at the cover of a book, you can see I'm not seeing color. It's only black and white. There is no app store. It's locked down. Like I said, you're not going to get any additional apps with this. It's not great for PDFs and larger files. And so if you're looking to do something like that, not ideal. There aren't any physical buttons, which kind of a con, but if you've never had them, it doesn't matter. It doesn't rotate or anything. You just have to hold it in one position, and that could be a con for people. And then you cannot write on this. There's no pen support anywhere, anyhow. If you want to highlight, you're just kind of doing that roughly with your finger. First world problems, right? Not a big deal, but those could be cons for people. So as we're thinking about the perfect time to buy another device or your first device, you have so many options out there, whether you want to buy something new like a Kindle or Kobo, whether you want to use your cell phone or even try out a tablet of some sort. You have so many options. I hope these pros and cons helped you out to make a decision. I use and rotate through all of the devices besides the cell phone. And I think there's a place for all of them. So if you have any questions, let me know. Happy to answer what I can. And write down below what some pros and cons for you are, what device you use. I would love to hear from you. I'd love to engage with you guys in the comments. As always, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.